Well, welcome to CAT 2023 first view. So Sujoy was in slot 2 and I was in slot 3, and we have some information regarding slot 2 and slot 3, and also we have got some information regarding slot 1 uh, that we have gathered from other sources as well. While we'll refrain to give you cutoffs and etc. maybe tonight, but I'll at least tell you what we think is a good score. Let's first go out with the structure of the paper. There was no surprise. In fact, that was exactly like last 2 years, which is 40 minutes each section, started with verbal, followed by LRDI, followed by quant. In verbal, we had 4 RCs or 4 questions each. So there were 16 questions of RC.
Yeah.
There were 8 questions of VA, which included verbal, which included parajumbles, sentence
Placement, sentence placement, yeah.
placement, and summary questions.
Summary questions, yeah.
Paragraph
These three types, yes.
Yeah. So one important thing I think which was not there in slot 3, but I think Sujoy faced in slot 2, was there was one parajumble.
One compulsory question, yes. There was a parajumble with 5 sentences which you had to arrange in order, and that question was mandatory. So when you keep solving, then once you reach that question, that was I think question number 18 for me. Then line flashes that the question is compulsory, but it does not say anything about what happens if you don't attempt and you skip and move on, because apparently that is also an option. So I think that was also there in slot 1. Some people say there was also in slot 1, but I'm not very sure.
And that was not a theta, right? Was it a theta?
Yeah, parajumble. It was a theta. So you have to type in the answer.
Okay. It was a okay.
It was a theta.
Okay, perfect. So again, so I did not get it in slot 3. At least no such flash notification came to my question. But yeah, some people have reported from slot 1 as well as slot 2 that there was one question which was mentioned as mandatory question. Now, I am not very clear, as Sujoy also said, that we are not very clear that if we skip that mandatory question, then what happens? Because there is no such mention even in the instructions, and I clear instructions, so there is nothing in the instructions. So that was the snapshot about verbal. My guess, and Sujoy can add to it, my guess is that the English verbal section was more or less of the same difficulty level as the last 2 or 3 CATs. I could attempt about 15-16 questions which confidently, and maybe 2-3 theta questions which I did it with some 50% confidence, I will say. And I did not want to leave them because there was no negative marking, but I think slot 2 was also similar.
Yeah, so more or less manageable. All of the questions were inferential. I mean, hardly any factual questions. That's anyways the norm. So all questions are about, so it's convoluted. So questions are which of the following points, if true, would weaken the argument of the author, except. So you have to like think layers. So okay, the sentence which weakens the argument, but you don't want that. You want the one which is not going to weaken. So either it strengthens or is not related to the passage. So now you start thinking. So analyzing that is important. But yeah, if you can do that, then RC questions were more or less, I think, reasonable. The verbal questions were also doable. So kind of, yeah. So I went on and attempted all the questions because that's kind of what I do every time. So, but yeah, so I think manageable section in that sense.
Yeah, I agree. I think similar feedback for slot 3 as well. The second section was LRDI, and you can now simply call it LR because there was no DI. I think one thing in all these slots was that there is absolutely no question which required calculation from a pie chart or a line graph or or any one of those things. In slot 3, we had 4 sets of 5 questions each, and that is also there in all the other sets.
All the sections.
All the 4 sets seems to be uh, logical reasoning with some background of
Numbers.
something or quant. Yeah, I mean,
Exactly. Yeah,
that's
so my take is also the same. So, I mean, no questions on graphs or pie charts or stuff. You had to have some knowledge of numbers, like fitting in numbers to suit certain scenarios. Like adding up numbers would give you this result. How quickly can you get those numbers? So those things are important, but it's all logic based. I think a take which what I can see here is CAT is trying to orient the LRDI section more like the GMAT IR, integrated reasoning section, especially after GMAT has come up with the focus edition, when they have now got a separate section for data analysis, which has data sufficiency, which is one part. The other part is about integrated reasoning. So it's exactly, I mean, not this level of difficulty, but it's very similar. So there are sentences, there is information, very little charts or computations are required in integrated reasoning. So I think CAT is trying to go that way, trying to make it appeal to the world students across the globe who are used to doing IR, maybe could be a reason.
yeah, I mean, maybe going on the international level and international,
Exactly. Yeah.
that's the whole idea. And I think I will not say very in-depth, but having basic understanding of what is a median
True.
might actually help in logical reasoning. This was the first time that
Yeah. Exactly.
to know median, because it was not explained in the question.
Exactly. Yeah.
So otherwise, whenever I have seen CAT, generally when they use words like median or standard deviation, they
They
generally
always explain.
mention. But this was the first time when I saw that they explained maximum, minimum, and median, but they did not really explain what is a median score. So
True.
a student who does not know what is a median score may not be very high a number, but yeah, if you don't know what is a median score and you don't actually know how a median is calculated,
Then you have to leave the set, basically. There's no other.
leave the set. Then you have to fully leave the set. On the contrary, at least in slot 3, the question that involved median, if you understand how median works, then that one became actually the easiest set. I mean,
Okay.
that's
Yeah,
the
in
very,
slot to the median set was pretty complicated. I mean, I felt
yeah. No,
pretty
all the 4 sets were, I will say, complicated. No doubt about it, because if not anything else, the data was longish. I mean,
longish. Yes.
it had multiple facets. For example, in one of my questions, there were 3 boys, 3 girls forming 3 teams of 1 boy, 1 girl. Each of
So
these,
many cases. So many cases.
each of the students had 1 score on test, 1 score on project, 1 score overall, and there was differential weightage on test score and project to ultimately give the overall score. I mean, making so
It's
many,
basically a business case study they have kept.
absolutely. So I think so. My case is, so this year, obviously, the number of students writing paper is very high. So I am not 100% sure. It is slightly unprecedented that more than 3 lakh people will be writing CAT this year. Hopefully, they have written. But yeah, in this section, my guess is if anybody is able to do 2 sets well,
2
or even
sets.
half sets well with fair amount of accuracy rate, then it should be really a good attempt. Because I thought none of the sets could have taken less than 10 minutes.
True.
Can be on the higher side. It could have taken 12 to 15 minutes for many people
Exactly.
to solve the sets. So
And you could not, it could not be like you solved 1 or 2 parts or small part of a set and answer some questions. So you had to get the entire set, only then you can start solving. So
correct.
if you, let's say, solve those 2 sets and you have taken up 30 minutes, then the other 10 minutes is just as well, you just sit without doing anything. Because you
Absolutely.
can't complete the next set in that time.
I agree. And in fact, my guess is the structure for this was almost same as last year. Even last year, there was no DI per se.
Exactly.
But this year I felt the difficulty level in terms of length of the data, not
Yeah,
in
it is higher, much higher.
terms of comprehension.
Hmm.
Comprehension of the question was not that difficult, but the length of the data made the question really longish, and therefore multiple cases were being formed.
Multiple cases were coming, lot of multiple cases.
So my guess is here, if a student is able to actually do 2 sets, it should be very good attempt. Because as Sujay rightly pointed out, that after 2 sets, there are high chances that you have already spent 30 minutes. So last 10 minutes, a full set could not have been solved. So anywhere between 5 to 10 questions should be seen as a good score. The good thing about the paper was I felt that the 2-3 sets that I attempted, and I could complete around 2.5 to 3 sets. I felt that you could have solved it only when you could have solved it whole data fully.
Exactly.
Otherwise, there was no chance. I mean, you could not have, there was absolutely no question which said, if this happens, then what happens? Because then the diagram could have been made partially. But no, unless and until you have made the diagram fully, all the 5 questions would be
In the second slot, I got a couple of questions which said if then, but then even if you want to do that, if then you have to actually solve and write down the entire set of solutions for all the other things. So like there were 5 people and there was something about these if then case. But then the question was based on the total of everyone. So you actually need to know everyone's total. So even if, I mean, you partially solving anyone doesn't really make sense.
One
So
thing which should not be seen as a trend, I guess, but just as a pointer that this year very clearly the so-called popular chapters like games and tournaments, cubes,
not there.
webgram, they were not present at all.
Is purely logic. So basically, you have to use logic and keep solving. So that's the idea. And
Anything which can be process based, anything which can be pattern based, definitely did not come this year.
right. And that's what makes LRDI very challenging because now, given the change that is happening, like how the questions are nowadays, is very important that while you're preparing, make sure that you rigorously practice and try to reduce your time. So if you want to like do 3 sets in that 40 minutes, then you have 13 minutes roughly per set. And it's very difficult to get 13 minutes in one. I mean, to do a set in 13 minutes in the actual test, unless you have rigorously practiced. So that's you can take as a benchmark time that, okay, if CAT comes and you have to do LRDI well and get a good score, then 13 minutes you have to make a timer kind of thing. Whenever you solve LR, solve in 13 minutes.
I think one very good message that CAT students should get when you are preparing for CAT 24 is, irrespective of VARC, irrespective of DI, irrespective of quant, your reading speed and your English needs to be good. I mean, without very clearly this year, it would have been difficult. I mean, if somebody says that, okay, my English is not so great, can I survive CAT with just quant and LRDI?
Not possible. Not
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Well, if you can't read properly, then you will simply miss out on a lot of points which the passage is saying. I mean, we'll discuss quant also, same thing there also. You just miss out words. If you don't pay attention to what the passage is, if you read properly.
I think right from the beginning, if CAT 24 students are seeing this, right from the beginning, a good emphasis on reading, okay,
Reading.
and good reading skills. And when I mean good reading skills, I don't mean, reading for reading comprehension or reading for CAT preparation. I'm talking about generic reading skills, about reading good books, reading good articles, from good renowned writers.
From renowned writers, yes.
So that is something.
But the English is complicated. I mean, it's not just straightforward, basic level. Some 10th student has written some that level English doesn't really help because anyone can process. The CAT English that you get is really, I mean, you have to put your thoughts, put your mind to it. Only then you'll understand what it is trying to say. So read from authors, as you said rightly. So read from authors who are well known for their writing skills.
Correct.
That's the idea.
Correct. So yeah, I mean, just as a pointer that
it's a very good point. Yes.
That 24 students, please improve your reading skills, and right from the beginning, concentrate on reading as a skill, irrespective of your CAT preparation.
Irrespective. Yes.
That's the whole idea. I think, okay. And coming to the quant section, there were 22 questions, which included questions from arithmetic, which had algebra, a lot of questions from quadratic equations. That's what I saw, and one question from linear equation as well. That is what I saw. Two questions on geometry. I got one question of logarithm. And AP. So there was logarithm, and then there was arithmetic progression. So there are three terms which involve logarithms and arithmetic progression. So
Okay.
that's what
Yeah,
I
logarithm is anyways a favorite for CAD. I mean, last year I remembered I got 3 of them in the same slot. So
think
3 log.
my favorite throughout. I think if you find a trend, then log is something which I think people generally tend to dump this, saying that it is tough. It is not, and
It's not tough, exactly.
yeah, and secondly, I think it's a favorite. We can safely say now that I have seen that in the last 20 years of CAT, 21 years of CAT that I have written, logarithm has been more or less frequent.
Exactly. Logarithms, and there is one more topic like averages, which was not that frequent initially, but in the recent past, that is the last 4 or 5 years, you will find lots of questions on averages. So this year also, my third or fourth question was on averages. There were a couple of such. I think deviating from their norm, CAT has like previously it was focused more on arithmetic, lot of arithmetic questions, but this time they have made it balanced. So they have got arithmetic also, they have got algebra also, a bit of geometry, logarithms as we discussed.
I saw time and work, time and distance also.
Time and distance were also there. Most of the questions I felt were not difficult in the sense like, okay, it's that complicated, you don't even understand what to do. So most of you, I guess, would have understood that, okay, this question, this is what has to be done. But that has to be done part takes a lot of time to execute. So
Yeah.
that is what the main challenge was. I mean, last year also it was similar, but this year I think they have taken it a notch up and made it even more lengthy. That was in section 2. But I mean, what was in section 3? What do you think?
I think section 3 was similar, though interesting part was this year what I saw was there were at least 5 questions which did not really ask for one straight answer. They asked something like, if this happens, then what could be the minimum possible value of A into B?
Exactly.
Right? Or if this group of people are working in 10 days, this group of people are working in 20 days, then the number of days in which A could have done the work could not have been, or could have been, something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So reasoning put in quants basically.
Yeah. So that I saw in at least, I think in one quadratic question also that was there, that the roots could not have been, something like that. Similarly, in time and work, time and distance also, that there were 2 questions like that where they specifically said that if these are the 2 conditions, then A alone could not have finished the work in this amount of days, something like that.
Exactly.
Right. Similarly, I think I specifically remember a question on percentage profit and loss where they said that, the population of a country in the year 2020 is this. It decreased by X% in 21 and increased by Y% in 22, and the difference between X and Y is 10 percentage points. Now they said, what could be the minimum possible population in the year 2023, something like that. So all those types of questions where you don't find an answer, you have to put in some reasoning pointers.
Exactly. It's not black and white that you solve and you get an answer and you're happy. You have to think and then analyze.
What that made the paper was that personally, I felt that earlier I used to do a lot of questions mentally or going backtracking from the options and etc. This year, I found that very, very less.
Very less. True.
So
hardly you can use options to answer these questions.
Yeah. Even the options look very ugly. For example, if you look at the quadratic equation question that I got, the solution had a lot of roots. So, backtracking the question, taking one option and even calculating it
That would take even longer.
Yeah, it would have taken much longer. So this year at least, I thought that uh, a well prepared student uh, could have easily done, I will say 10 to 12 questions easily. That should not be a problem. However, uh, that there can be some unnerving in terms of the way you prepared for CAT and the way you went there and wrote CAT, because during preparation of CAT, you obviously do a lot of questions mentally from
Exactly.
options and this and etc.
You will
That,
never find that.
yeah, that is something which I think a well prepared student might get unnerved, because in the first 2, 3, 4 questions, you
Yeah,
didn't get any.
you won't get it.
Yeah, so you had to, pull yourself back, say, okay, all right, no problem.
Let's
Please,
try.
let's adjust to it. Anybody
And
who adjusts to it will be so. Once you enter, read the question and start scribbling and creating situations. That's
right.
what. Then the question became very easy. Then it became quickly that okay, this is what is going to happen. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you'll have to create those situations. For example, I got a question wherein it said that 8 to the power m and 8 to the power n, there are two numbers. Uh, what can be the difference between m and n if 41 numbers which can be expressed as power of 2 can be put between 8 to the power m and 8 to the power m. Now, yeah, so you figure it out at some point of time. You
Exactly.
some point of time understanding what do they want to say. So this is basically 2 to the power 3 is the first number, then 2 to the power 6 is the second number, 2 to the power 9 is the third number. So you
Right.
figure the 3 to 45, and then in between there are 41 numbers. Understood. But then, when you start writing them down, then you figure
It
it out.
becomes easier.
The question and trying to, do some algebra formula or something will not help.
Formula definitely did not help at all. So if you have been basing your preparations based on your formula or rote learning, it's absolutely a no-no. You can know 100 formula, you can do 0 questions.
So
So
I think,
formula,
yeah, I think one thing that can be safely summarized about this year's quant part is your concepts needs to be clear. So
exactly.
while the process is important, and there can be a lot of processes and shortcuts that are there, but just reminding the core philosophy that quant, if your concepts are not clear, then you cannot be fast.
Then you cannot be fast.
To
Exactly.
apply some shortcuts, you
And you
need.
will not even realize what it is based on. So I got a question where two powers of 2 had to add up to a third power of 2, and the powers were all in algebraic expressions. You have to solve for the variable x. So if you don't realize that it is basically two consecutive powers of 2 when added gives you the next power of 2, like 2 cube plus 2 cube is 2 to the power 4. That's the only case where that can happen. If you don't realize that, you can't solve.
Correct.
Because it's not product. You can't add the powers. You can't do any of the formula which you have memorized, right? Like powers can be added and all that. Nothing works. So you have to know stuff, and that will come only with lots and lots of practice. And that is where practice again comes into the picture.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think anybody who will be preparing for CAT 24, be very clear that all those things that you learn, that please give us a shortcut for this, and
That's not going to work.
for this. Don't go into that without doing the background hard work. That's
Background, you must do that. Yes. First of all, you know the concepts. Then shortcuts will come. In fact, you can devise your own shortcuts if you want, but then you must know the basics very well.
absolutely, I agree. And here I found, Sujoy can tell for the second slot, but I found that 12 to 15 questions should be easily doable in around 40 minutes,
Yeah, yeah.
provide, provided you recover from the first shock and quickly settle down. Then the questions look easy. Even I had some uncomfortable couple of minutes in the first two questions, because they looked very ugly, and I was like, should I do them or should I skip them to find out an easier question? But after I saw the first three questions and all of them look similar, and I had no choice, so I started with them and I started scribbling and I started
Yes.
analyzing. Then I found out that yeah, it is happening. So That's how it is.
Yeah, I think similar. Maybe not 12 to 15. I think the second slot, I felt like the quant was slightly more challenging. So, I mean, for some a general student to do, let's say 12 to 15, I think like maybe 10 to 12 range would be a good number of questions to solve in that 40 minutes. I went ahead and did, I think I left out 4 questions. I did the rest, but then on an average, I think the number should be somewhere around 10 to 12. It's a good, very good number of attempts.
Right. So to
That's
sum,
basically,
if we
yes.
summarize the two slots, I think more or less same difficulty level across
Same,
all,
same.
and with
Similar, very similar, yeah.
yeah, and with whatever I heard about the first slot, also similar feedbacks are coming. We will get into some detailed idea, and maybe by evening tomorrow we'll put up some post on the
Some cutoff, maybe an expected number.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, prima facie, it looks like that in English, approximately 15 questions is doable. 15
Yeah.
questions, 24, 15 to 16 questions is doable, which will mean that you attempt approximately 2.5 to 3 RCs. You attempt obviously the theta questions. Theta questions are not to be left out. And
Yes.
out of the 8 VA questions, even if you could attempt, let's say around 5 or 6 of them, that should take you to that number. What we are talking about, that around
True.
with good accuracy rate. If your accuracy rate is good and your reading speed is good, that should be fine. LRDI, undoubtedly the most difficult section among the 3 sections, both in terms of length as well as the complexity in the questions. So we are saying attempting 8 to 10 questions. Chances are should be good enough, because after that you run out of time, basically, as we say.
Yeah,
So that you run out of time.
sir, eight questions here, around about 8 questions is enough, I think, to get a good, decent.
10 questions. The thing is, you are left with 10 minutes, and they are not good enough for the next set.
Exactly, that's the point.
Trying, but yeah, you run out of time. That's what both of us felt. Quant again, as we said, that around 10 to 12 questions, if done correctly, would be easily doable. Hopefully, the accuracy rate, if you maintain, it should be good enough to give us a good score.
Right.
So that's the whole synopsis of the paper today. Now, just reminding to CAT 23 aspirants that CAT is over. So don't fret or waste too much time on it tomorrow or day after as to what happened, what not. Please remember, NMAT is going on. So I hope your NMAT dates are there. SNAP is coming up. ZAT is coming up. And above all, if you're really expecting a good score and you have prepared well,
GDPI is coming.
your GDPI preparation.
Yes.
Don't
That's
deal.
the biggest challenge.
Yeah, in fact, if you have seen the videos of earlier CAT achievers that we have talked about, everybody has insisted that don't wait for your CAT calls to come or IIM calls to come to prepare for TDPI. This is equally high rigor, if not more rigor than CAT.
Exactly.
So tomorrow, don't fret over CAT. Whatever has happened has happened. There will be a lot of
begin tomorrow as a new day and start preparing fresh with the GDPI and the other exams. Basically, that's
so that's the part of it. I think that's it, Sujoy. I think
I think that's more or less it.
right. So
Okay. So
the best, everybody. We will try to give you a detailed feedback by tomorrow.
yeah. Okay. Good night, everyone.